The restaurant was warm and dimly lit, the kind of place meant for comfortable conversations and slow meals, not emotional ambushes. Golden pendant lamps hung like patient moons over each table, casting soft halos on plates and faces. Cutlery clinked gently, glasses chimed now and then, and a quiet jazz melody hummed in the background. I had picked the place carefully neutral, calm, familiar, a safe zone, or so I thought. I arrived 10 minutes early. I always did. Ever since the divorce, punctuality was the one thing I maintained without fail. I sat at a corner table meant for 3, hands clasped, tapping my thumb against my knuckles just to chase away the nervous energy that always came before these co-parenting dinners. Liam arrived first, my son, my only child. He walked toward me with a posture that wasn't his stiff shoulders, chin raised just a little too high, a practiced swagger that didn't belong to a 15-year-old who used to run barefoot through our backyard chasing fireflies. His dark hair was styled in a way I had never seen before, and his clothes were unmistakably expensive. Designer logos flashed like badges of allegiance. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just slid into the chair across from me and pulled out his phone. "Hey, bud," I said softly. He didn't look up. "Hey." The tone was clipped, distant. A minute later, Claire swept in. As always, she arrived like gust of perfume and attitude, heels clicking sharply on the polished floor, hair styled with meticulous precision, wearing that expression she reserved for me, triumphant indifference. "Well," she said, taking her seat beside Liam, "let's make this quick. I don't want to be late for Eric's charity event tonight, of course." Perfect husband with the perfect money and the perfect public image. I nodded silently, refusing to rise to the bait. We ordered our meals. The conversation, or rather, my attempts at conversation, was awkward, punctuated by Claire's sighs and Liam's silence. "So, school's going well?" I asked, gently nudging open the door to a topic we usually shared. Liam shrugged. "Yeah, whatever. Are you still thinking about joining the robotics club? Your teacher said you, that was months ago." He snapped without looking at me. Claire smirked into her wine glass. My stomach tightened, but I forced myself to stay calm. This wasn't him. This was influenced behavior, coached, encouraged. The waiter brought our dishes, placing Liam's plate in front of him with a polite smile. Liam barely acknowledged him. I felt an ache behind my ribs, a small grief for the politeness I had spent years teaching. I was still watching him when it happened. He pushed his plate aside abruptly. The sound was loud enough that nearby diners glanced over. Claire pretended not to notice, or worse, she anticipated it. Then Liam stood up, not halfway, not hesitantly. He stood with a kind of angry purpose that made my pulse spike. His voice rose across the table, slicing through the soft restaurant hum. "You know what? I don't even know why I'm here, Liam." I tried, but he cut me off. "You are a loser, but my mom's new husband isn't." The words echoed, loud, clear, brutal. The entire room froze for a heartbeat. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks hovered. A couple at the next table turned their heads slowly, their expressions shifting from curiosity to discomfort. Someone gasped quietly. I felt the world tilt. My breath caught in my chest like a fist squeezing air out of me. I looked at Liam, really looked, and all I saw wasn't arrogance. It was confusion, hurt, conditioning. A teenager trying to impress someone who bought affection with things instead of love. But the words still sliced through me. Claire didn't stop him. She didn't correct him. She didn't even look surprised. She only traced her finger along the rim of her glass. Eyes settled on me with a subtle, satisfied smirk. I swallowed hard. "Liam," I said slowly, softly, "sit down. Let's just talk." "Talk?" he scoffed. "About what? How you can't afford anything. How you live in that tiny apartment. How Eric actually does things for me." The blow landed straight in my chest. I didn't speak. Every instinct begged me to shout, defend myself, remind him of everything I sacrificed, how I worked double shifts, how I coached his teams, how I stayed up teaching him math, how I loved him more than anything in the world. But heartbreak has a strange way of silencing you. Parents who love deeply know this moment, the moment when your child wounds you with words he doesn't understand, and you choose restraint over pride. I simply said, okay. It wasn't approval, it wasn't defeat, it was acceptance. That this wasn't him speaking. It was survival. Liam scoffed again, grabbed his phone, and stormed out of the restaurant. The door slammed behind him with a violent thud. Silence hung like smoke. Claire leaned back in her seat, crossed her legs, and said coolly, "You really should try harder, Daniel. Kids look up to winners." I looked at her with an expression I rarely used, full, unfiltered pity, because I suddenly realized something. She wasn't raising Liam. She was poisoning him. Without another word, I placed my napkin on the table, stood, and walked out. The night air hit me like a harsh truth, cold, sharp, unforgiving. I didn't cry, but something inside me fractured quietly. And in that fractures, a resolve began to grow. A calm, patient, devastating resolve. Because I knew something neither Claire nor Eric did. The weakest-looking man in the room is often the one holding the real power. And soon, very soon, they would learn exactly who they had underestimated. The drive home from the restaurant felt longer than ever, even though it was the same familiar route I had taken hundreds of times before. Streetlights passed overhead in slow blinks, like the world was pausing every few seconds to check on me. Are you okay? Are you really okay? My hands were steady on the wheel, but inside, something was unraveling in threads of disbelief and grief. You are a loser. The words replayed in a loop, not because I believed them, but because they came from the mouth of the one person whose opinion mattered most to me. 15 years of love, dedication, sacrifice, dismissed in a single moment, shaped by the influence of someone who saw fatherhood as a competition rather than a responsibility. But emotions, even the heaviest ones, eventually settle. By the time I pulled into my small driveway, the storm inside me quieted not out of peace, but out of clarity. And clarity can be a dangerous thing. ###. I knew where the voice came from ****. I sat in the living room, lights off, letting the darkness wrap around me like a heavy coat. The insult didn't come from Liam's heart. I knew that. He wasn't cruel by nature. He was hurt, confused, and caught between a mother who measured love by lifestyle and a stepfather who bought affection with flashy distractions. The words belonged to someone else. They belonged to Eric Eric, who always greeted me with fake warmth and smug eyes. Eric, who paraded his wealth like it proved his worth. Eric, who used his wallet the way some men use weapons. If there was one thing I understood deeply, it was men like him. I had seen them fail, spectacularly, catastrophically. Because money built on lies always collapses. I rubbed my hands together slowly, thinking. The humiliation from dinner wasn't the start of anything. It was the last push I needed to act on what I had quietly prepared for months. Not revenge exactly, more like balance, justice, correction. ###, the truth they didn't know about me, ***, my ex-wife had always assumed she upgraded her life after the divorce because she lived in a bigger home and wore pricier dresses. She made sure to tell mutual friends that she left because I was unambitious and financially unreliable. What she didn't know was the truth. When we divorced, I intentionally kept my assets deeply separated, protected, and quiet. Because I knew her, because I knew she would take everything she could if she had the chance. So I let her think I was living modestly. I took a smaller apartment, a regular job, no flash, no display, no mention of my silent earnings. Behind the curtain, I owned a logistics business with my cousin. Steady, profitable, and intentionally listed under his name. I held a patent for a process being used in multiple manufacturing companies. I had inherited land from my father, land sitting on the edge of a new commercial development. Its value had quietly quadrupled. I kept all documentation in private trusts she never knew existed. I wasn't rich in the flashy, loud way Eric pretended to be. I was stable, silent, strategic, and that kind of wealth moves differently. The cracks in Eric's empire months earlier. Eric had tried to brag to me about buying Liam a car. He wanted to look like the generous new father figure, but his finances were tighter than he let anyone know. His lifestyle was a tower built on loans, credit cards, and exaggerated income claims. He wasn't investing. He was performing, and performances require perfect lighting. Even the faintest shadow breaks the illusion. A few weeks before the dinner incident, he had begged me to sign a car loan for Liam. For the boy, he said, be a real dad. A real dad. The irony nearly choked me. I didn't answer him then. But I paid attention. I studied his loan attempts, his business filings, his missed payments, his failed credit applications. I didn't plan to ruin him, not yet, but I kept the information close. Men like Eric destroy themselves eventually. All you have to do is stop protecting them. The plan forms after the dinner disaster. When Liam's voice echoed in my skull like a bruise that refused to fade, I sat at the kitchen table and pulled out a folder I hadn't touched in months. Inside were copies of Eric's falsified income documents, unpaid loan statements, luxury purchases on overdue credit, business expenses claimed under personal accounts he had given banks. Inflated numbers for years, hoping no one would look too closely. But banks always look when someone gives them a reason to. And I was about to give them one, not illegally, not maliciously, simply by delivering the truth to the right place. I wasn't ruining him. I was just removing the cushion that kept him from falling. The email that lit the fuse at 1:14 a.m. I sat at my computer, typed a short anonymous message, attached the documents, and sent it to the financial institution reviewing his current loan applications. No threats, no claims, no accusations, just facts, cold, objective facts, one click, one breath. One small push, and the dominoes began to tremble. Why I did it people might say I acted out of anger or revenge. But the truth is simpler. Liam needed to see the difference between real stability and fake success. He needed to understand that the man buying his affection with fancy dinners and expensive gifts was doing it with money that wasn't truly his. He needed to learn who actually had his back, because love isn't loud, it isn't flashy, it isn't bought. It's steady, quiet, constant, and I was done letting someone else twist my son into believing otherwise. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling. The plan wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It wasn't even vengeful. It was quiet, deliberate, unstoppable, and by this time next week, the truth would begin to show itself. The same way it always does, steadily, painfully, and undeniably. The first sign that the dominoes had begun to fall arrived 3 days after I sent the anonymous documents. I woke to a soft buzz on my phone, just a notification from a financial news app I barely checked anymore. But the headline caught my eye, local business owner under financial review for discrepancies. The article didn't name Eric directly, but the description was unmistakable. Luxury auto leases, inflated business claims, delayed tax submissions. I didn't smile, not out of restraint, but because it wasn't satisfaction I felt. It was inevitability, like watching a storm roll toward a house built out of cardboard. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk day 5. The car asterisk asterisk on the 5th day. Things escalated. I was leaving the grocery store when my phone vibrated again. Another alert, this time from Liam's school. Asterisk, your child was picked up 2 hours early by his stepfather. No guardian note received. Please ensure future pickups are properly documented. Asterisk odd. Something told me not to go home just yet. Instead, I took a detour through the neighborhood where Claire and Eric lived. Their modern rental house with the huge windows and the leased luxury SUV always parked perfectly in the driveway. Except today, the SUV was not in the driveway, but another vehicle was, a tow truck. I parked down the street and watched quietly from my car. A uniformed man was hooking chains under the gleaming front wheels of Eric's prized car, the one he bragged about constantly, the one he took Liam joyriding in to show him real living. The man shook his head, muttering to himself as he tightened the chains. Always the flashy ones, he said. Never keep up with the payments. I watched the car get lifted slowly, like a king losing his crown inch by inch. When the tow truck pulled away, I noticed something else. The curtains in the house twitched. Someone was watching. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk day 6. The house asterisk asterisk the next day. I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. It wasn't my habit to answer anything unplanned. Minutes later, a voicemail appeared. Claire's voice filled the speaker, sharp and frantic. Daniel, have you heard anything about a problem with the rental company? They're threatening to terminate our lease because the last payments bounced. Eric said it's just a misunderstanding, but I don't believe him anymore. Something's wrong. Her voice trembled. I hadn't heard that sound since the day she walked out on me years ago. Back then, she framed it as liberation. But fear corrodes confidence quickly. I didn't call her back, not yet. Instead, I waited, because I knew there was still one domino left. And it was the one that would hit the hardest. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk day 7. Liam asterisk asterisk. It was late afternoon when the knock finally came. Not a soft knock, not a tentative one. A desperate, stumbling, shattered pounding. When I opened the door, the sight made my stomach drop. Liam stood on my porch, shivering not from cold, but from shock. His expensive jacket hung crookedly off his shoulders. His hair was messy, his eyes red and swollen. Behind him on the sidewalk sat 2 garbage bags, overspilling with clothes and school items shoved in without care. A taxi driver waited beside them with an impatient hand on his hip. Dad, Liam croaked, voice breaking. Can I stay here? The words seemed to cost him every ounce of strength he had left. I stepped aside immediately. Come in, son. He walked inside slowly, like someone stepping into a memory. I helped him drag the bags in. He collapsed onto the couch, hugging himself. What happened? I asked softly. His lips trembled. Everything's gone wrong. Eric got into some business trouble. The bank froze his accounts. His car got taken. Mom said the landlord is kicking us out because she didn't know Eric stopped paying rent. He swallowed hard. His next words came out in a whisper. Eric left, packed a bag last night and just left. I closed my eyes briefly. It was exactly what I expected. Men like Eric didn't fight storms. They ran from them, and Mom. Liam continued, voice cracking again. She keeps yelling and crying and then yelling more. She told me to go to your place so she could figure things out. But she didn't even look at me when she said it. His face crumpled. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I didn't know where else to go. He whispered. I sat beside him, placing a hand lightly on his back. You're always welcome here, always. He wiped his eyes with his sleeve. Dad, I'm sorry for what I said at the restaurant. I didn't mean any of it. I was just trying to. His voice broke. I don't even know. I was stupid. No, I said gently. You were hurt and confused. and trying to belong somewhere you didn't yet understand. He looked at me like he couldn't believe the absence of anger. Are you mad at me? I admitted. I won't lie about that, but I forgive you, and I love you. Nothing changes that. He burst into tears again, harder this time. Kind of crying that meant releasing weeks, months, maybe years of pressure. I let him cry. Sometimes that's all a father can do. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk rules and rebuilding asterisk asterisk when he calmed down. I stood and said, "Listen, you can stay here as long as you need, but we're going to do things differently." He sniffled. What do you mean? You'll help around the house? You'll go to school every day? You'll be responsible? We build values here, not illusions. He nodded fiercely. I will, I promise. And Liam, yeah. You don't ever have to pretend with me, not to impress anyone, not to make anyone proud. You're enough, just as you are. His lip quivered. For the first time in months, he looked like my son again. My real son, not the version shaped by brand names and empty praise. Dad, he whispered, thank you. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk, the phone call asterisk asterisk that evening, long after Liam had fallen asleep in the guest room. My phone rang again. Claire, I answered this time. Her voice erupted instantly. Daniel, you have to help me. Everything is falling apart. Eric is gone and he took my money, all of it. Every cent I saved. She was sobbing uncontrollably now. Please, I need somewhere to stay. Just for a little while. We have nowhere, no, I said calmly. But Liam is here. I cut her off. He's safe. You are not moving in. She went silent. Then her tone twisted into something sharp and venomous. This is your fault, she hissed. You did something. You wanted this to happen. I stared out the window at the dark yard. No, Claire, I said quietly. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped protecting the man who ruined asterisk you asterisk. Her breath hitched. I didn't wait for a response. I simply ended the call. I stood for a long moment in the quiet house, listening to the gentle hum of the heater and the soft wind outside. Then I walked to Liam's door and cracked it open. He was sleeping, his face peaceful for the first time in months. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, not revenge, not victory, asterisk asterisk peace, asterisk asterisk because the collapse wasn't about destroying anyone. It was about truth finally revealing itself, and truth, quiet, patient, inevitable, always wins. The house was quiet in the early hours of the morning, so quiet that it felt like the world had paused, holding its breath after the chaos of the previous week. A soft glow spilled from the hallway lamp, casting warm light across the living room where I sat awake, a cup of lukewarm tea resting in my palms. I hadn't been able to sleep, not because of fear or stress, because for the first time in months I wasn't carrying everything alone. Liam's steady breathing drifted faintly from the guest bedroom down the hall. That sound alone grounded me. It reminded me that despite everything, there was something still worth fighting for, someone who still needed stability, guidance, love. But the peace didn't last long. At exactly 6:17 a.m., my phone vibrated harshly against the coffee table. The screen lit up with a name I knew too well, asterisk asterisk Claire. Asterisk asterisk part of me expected the call last night after she left that chaotic voicemail. Another part hoped she would just disappear into the storm she had walked into so willingly. But the storm was following her. And it had my number. I answered after 3 rings. Her voice exploded through the speaker, raw and ragged, as if she had been screaming for hours. Daniel, thank God you picked up. You have to help me. Please, asterisk, please. Asterisk. I closed my eyes. Claire, slow down. What happened? What happened? She shrieked. Everything happened. Eric is gone. Just gone. He took my money. My savings. He even took my mother's jewelry that I kept in the safe. The police said they can't do anything until they conduct investigation. The landlord is threatening to throw my things out on the street if I don't vacate today. I have nothing. Her words tangled together like a net tightening around her own throat. I remained silent. letting her spill the chaos that had been building for years. And I don't know what to do. I don't have a place to go. I can't stay with my sister because she's still angry about the wedding drama last year, and I can't afford a hotel, and Claire. I said gently, breathe. Her breath came in short, frantic gasps. I need to stay with you, she said abruptly, the desperation in her voice sharp enough to cut. Just for a few weeks, until this gets sorted out. Please, for Liam's sake. I sat up straight, for Liam's sake, she repeated, clinging to the words like a life preserver. He needs both of his parents right now. We have to be there for him. It was a clever line, a rehearsed line. One designed to make me feel guilty, but guilt requires innocence on the other side, and she had abandoned that long ago. Claire, I said slowly, you can't stay here. Silence, not shocked disbelief. Then, like a match struck against sandpaper, she snapped. What do you mean I can't stay? You have a house, you have space, you have our son there. He is welcome here, I replied calmly. Always, but you know. The silence that followed wasn't quiet. It was loud, crackling, furious, electric. You unbelievable bastard, she hissed. After everything I went through with you, after everything I gave you, you left, I reminded her softly. Not me. She ignored the correction. You're really going to do this. You're really going to leave me homeless, on the street. I'm not leaving you anywhere, I said. You got yourself there. You're punishing me because I moved on, she spat. No, I said, shaking my head even though she couldn't see me. I'm refusing to rescue you from the consequences of the choices you made. She inhaled sharply, rage simmering beneath her breath. This is because Liam said that thing at dinner, isn't it? She accused. You're holding a grudge. You're teaching me a lesson, right? You've always been petty. My grip tightened on the phone, but my voice remained steady. Liam is here because he needs stability, I said. You need a different kind of help. She scoffed. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said calmly, that I will help you find a shelter, a friend to stay with, even help you look for work if you need it. But you are not moving into my home. You're heartless. She whispered, voice trembling between fury and fear. How did I ever love someone like you? You didn't, I replied quietly. You loved the idea of what I could give you, and when I stopped giving, you left. Her breath hitched whether from shock or guilt, I didn't know. You ruined my life, she said suddenly. The words spat like poison. You wanted this. You waited for this. You hate me. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the faint morning light creeping through the window. I don't hate you, Claire. I'm just done saving you. A long, shaky exhale sounded on the other end. Then, in a smaller, more fragile voice, she asked, Did you have something to do with Eric's collapse? The question hung between us, like a wire pulled tight. I didn't lie, but I didn't confess. I simply said I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped protecting the man who ruined *you. Her breath caught in her throat. And then click, she hung up. ###, the stillness after the storm, ***. The house returned to silence. My tea had gone cold. Outside, the sun finally began to rise, turning the horizon a pale, forgiving gold. I stood and walked quietly to the hallway. Liam's door was cracked open. He slept curled on his side, the blankets rising softly with each breath. He looked peaceful, something I hadn't seen in far too long. I leaned against the doorframe, watching him for a moment, letting the stillness settle over me. The world was messy. People were flawed. Life was unpredictable. But peace, true peace, comes from knowing you did what was right. Not easy, not painless, but right. I closed the door gently. Then I walked to the kitchen, brewed a fresh cup of tea, and sat at the table as the sun climbed higher. I wasn't thinking about Claire or Eric or the chaos left behind. I was thinking about the future. My son's future, our future, because life wasn't collapsing. It was rebuilding slowly, quietly, correctly. And this time, the foundation was real.